The news is: Head of French armed forces resigns over budget cuts, row with Macron. France's head of the armed forces has resigned, days after President Emmanuel Macron publicly rebuked him in a bitter clash over plans to slash the military's budget by nearly €1 billion, in the first major test of the young presidency. General Pierre de Villiers said if the budget cuts went through, it would leave him in charge of an army, no longer able to guarantee the robust defense force I believe is necessary to guarantee the protection of France and the French people, today and tomorrow. As a result, the five-star general tendered his resignation to the newly elected centrist president, and it had been accepted, he said in a statement. The resignation is the first sign of fierce opposition the government is likely to face as it tries to cut €4.5 billion, £3.9 billion, in spending, by the end of the year to honor its pledge to bring its overall deficit under 3.0% of GDP, as required under EU budget rules. The row between Mr. Macron, 39, and General de Villiers, 60, erupted late last week when the furious Chief of Staff told a Parliamentary Defense Committee he would not sit idly by while the armed forces were screwed by the drastic cuts ordered by the Finance Ministry. The planned cuts, predominantly by saving money on equipment, total around by €850 million, £752 million. Livid, Mr. Macron chose to respond publicly while addressing troops, on the eve of the annual Bastille Day military parade that was attended by U.S. President Donald Trump. Reminding them that he was constitutionally the supreme commander of France's armed forces, he said, "I am your chief. I don't need any pressure or commentary." To ram home his point, Mr. Macron then said, in a newspaper interview at the weekend, that if there was a difference of opinion, it is the Chief of the Defense Staff who will change his position. The clash sparked a heated political debate over whether the president had overstepped the mark and humiliated his military chief or had little choice but to assert his authority after taking a difficult decision on cuts across the board. The president later announced a €1.5 billion rise in military spending for next year, in line with his campaign promise to boost defense spending to 2% of GDP by 2025, as part of France's commitments to NATO. But that apparently failed to mollify the straight-talking General de Villiers, who served in Kosovo and Afghanistan and is widely liked by the rank and file. Mr. Macron moved quickly on Wednesday to replace him after his resignation, appointing General François Lecointre, 55, to fill the role. It is clear today that the executive cannot bear a situation where its top public servants have a view of things that is different from the political view put together by the Élysée, said General Vincent Deportes, former head of France's top military school. It's not Erdoganism, but it is not far off, he added in a reference to the Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, who faces accusations from opposition leaders of being a dictator in the aftermath of last year's failed military coup. Those remarks were echoed by opposition politicians, such as Damien Abad, a member of Les Républicains party who sits on the Parliamentary Defense Committee, who tweeted that Mr. Macron's excessive authoritarianism led to the resignation. Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader whom Mr. Macron beat in the presidential runoff, said the French military had lost a man of huge value and claimed the resignation showed the very serious abuses and worrying limits of the president's leadership. The deep cuts to the defense budget have angered the military, because Mr. Macron has made a point of showing support for the military since coming to power in May. In his first foreign visit after taking office, he visited French troops engaged in counter-terrorism operations in the West African country of Mali.